Good morning, students. In today's class, we will start with our next chapter, Biodiversity and Conservation, under the unit Ecology. Okay, Biodiversity and Conservation. This is going to be your chapter 15. Okay, let's see what is biodiversity first. Okay, biodiversity means diversity or variety in the living organisms. If you take any particular area, in that particular area there would be different types of species living. Okay, so that forms the biodiversity. Diversity or variety in the living organisms present in a particular area. Biodiversity cannot be referred or indicating only the diversity in different species present in a particular area, whereas this word diversity or biodiversity can be used in order to explain the diversity or the varieties that are seen in the genes, gene pools, species, ecosystem. Okay, if you take any particular geographical area, in that particular area, we'll take an example of our country, India. In India, if you clearly observe, there are multiple ecosystems in one country. In this ecosystem, there are multiple species. There are multiple genes present inside this particular species. Okay, so this variation or the variety that you found in a particular area is known as biodiversity. Okay, we will read the explanation. The occurrence of different types of genes, gene pool. Gene pool means the genes present in a population. Okay, the total number of genes present in a population is referred as gene pool. Okay, so the different types of genes, gene pool, species, habitats and ecosystem in a particular place and various part of earth is called as biodiversity. Okay, so this is the explanation for biodiversity. Diversity means variation or variety. Bio means living, right? So the variation or the variety of living organisms that you see in a particular area or in our earth, on our earth, can be in a simple way referred as biodiversity. Okay, this term biodiversity was given by this person, Edward Wilson. Okay, now we have three different types of biodiversity explained by this Edward Wilson. Okay, the biodiversity are of three types. Biodiversity are of different types. If we look into the ecological hierarchy, it starts with organisms. Then it goes to population, then it goes to community, then it goes to ecosystem, then a biome, then a biosphere. Okay, the diversity can occur in every level, okay, of the hierarchy. However, in a broader way, the biodiversity is classified into three categories. Okay, which are they? Genetic diversity, species diversity, ecological diversity. Okay, what is genetic diversity? Let us consider only one species as an example in order to explain genetic diversity. Let us take Mangifera indica, which is mango. Okay, how many different types of mangoes do you know? Okay, we know multiple varieties of mango. Even though all the mangoes belong to a particular species, Mangifera indica, there are different types of mangoes. Okay, the taste also differs, the texture also differs, the appearance also differs, the seed size also differs. Okay, even though all these differences are there, all of them belong to a particular species, Mangifera indica. Okay, let's take an example of hibiscus or China rose. How many different types of China rose do we know? Okay, there are multiple types of China rose belonging to, having different colors, having different shape, having different size. Okay. However, all of them belong to this category hibiscus or a species hibiscus. Okay. We know different types of tiger, but however they belong to this species known as Panthera tigris. There are different types of lion, still they belong to Panthera leo. Okay. So this is how in one particular species we find different types. Okay. Why this change or why this difference? That is because the genetic information present inside all these living organisms are different, or there is variation in the genetic information present inside this particular species. Okay. So let's take an example of Homo sapiens. No Homo sapien exactly matches the features of another Homo sapien. Okay, we all the human beings are Homo sapiens. However, our character, our appearance, our behavior, or our intelligence, everything differs from one another. Why this change? Even though we all belong to one particular species, there is something called as genetic information which is present in our body, or the genes present in our body are different. Okay, this goes with different organisms, even with rice. Okay, we know there are multiple varieties of rice. Okay, but all of them we call them as general rice. However, there are different categories of rice. Okay, why this change? Why this difference? That is because of the genetic information present inside this organism differs, or the genes that are present in these organisms, it differs, or there is variation or variety in this particular genetic information. So that is known as genetic diversity. Okay, it is the measure of variety in genetic information contained in the organism. Okay, so why this genetic diversity is required? It enables a population to adapt to its environment. Okay, so why this genetic diversity is required? Only with the genetic diversity, an organism will survive in its natural environmental condition. Okay, now for example, we will take 3 examples here. There is a medicinal plant known as Revolfia vomitoria. Okay, there is a medicinal plant known as Revolfia vomitoria. This particular medicinal plant grows in the Himalayan range. Okay, it grows in the Himalayan range. The speciality of this particular Revolfia vomitoria is that it produces a chemical known as reserpine. Okay, it produces a chemical known as reserpine. In the Revolfia vomitoria plant, which are present in the Himalayan region, produces a chemical known as reserpine. Okay, however, the potency of this particular chemical known as reserpine, okay, this is a chemical, so it will have its its potency, right? The way it functions. The potency of this particular reserpine varies if you select different Revolfia vomitoria plants from different regions of the Himalayas. Okay, if you go from the ground level to the hill, to the apex of the Himalayas, you will find different types of Revolfia vomitoria. All the plants belong to one particular species, that is Revolfia vomitoria. However, the type of chemical they produce is also the same. It is reserpine. However, the potency, okay, the potency or the power of this chemical reserpine changes when you go from one part of the Himalaya to the other part of the Himalaya. Okay, so this is because even though all of them belong to one particular species, all of them produce one particular chemical, there is difference in the activity of this particular chemical or the potency of this particular chemical reserpine. Okay, so this is because there is some changes in the genes inside this particular plant, Revolfia vomitoria. Okay, the second example is India has more than 50,000 genetically different strains of rice. Okay, we have 50, just in India, we have 50,000 genetically different varieties of rice. That is because of the change in the variety or the variation in the genetic information in the rice plant or the paddy. 1,000 varieties of mango. We have almost 1,000 varieties of mango. We must have eaten only 5 to 6 types of mango. However, there are 1,000 different types of mango present in India. Again, all of them belong to Mangifera indica. However, their genetic information changes. Okay, so that's all about genetic diversity. Changes in the genetic information present in an organism. One Homo sapien has one type of genetic information, the other one has other genetic information. Even though 99% of the genetic information matches, that 1% or 0.1% that we that we talk about changes when we go from one individual to another individual. Let's look into another type of diversity, which is species diversity. Species diversity means you go to a forest. In that particular forest, you will find different varieties of species. Right? You will find tiger, Panthera leo, Panthera tigris. You will find acacia. You will find a deer species. You will find a goat species. You will find a bison species. Okay, so there are different species present in a particular area forms the species diversity. Okay, if you go to any ecosystem or any particular geographical area, there are number of species. There is variety of species present in one particular geographical area. That is known as species diversity. It is a measure of variety of species and their relative abundance. That means in what number they are present in a particular area. Relative abundance means which species is present in abundance, which are present in less number, that present within a region. For example, if you go to Western Ghats, they have greater amphibian species diversity than the Eastern Ghats. Okay, if you go to Western Ghats and check, there are so many varieties of, so many species of amphibians present there when compared to the species present in the Eastern Ghats. So that's all about species diversity. Then we will go to ecological diversity. Okay, ecological diversity means in India, if you take India as an area, in India, how many different types of ecosystems are present? Okay, you take the whole country, how many different types of ecosystems are present in one particular country? In India, we will have thousands, we will have oceanic ecosystem, we will have pond ecosystem, we will have forest ecosystem, we will have desert ecosystem, we will have rocky area. Okay, all of them, they belong to different ecosystem. So in one particular area, you will find multiple ecosystems. That is known as ecological diversity. There is variation or varieties of ecosystem present in a particular area. It is a measure of diversity at community and ecosystem level. Okay, it also includes the variation in the community. Okay, so there are different plant community, there are different animal community, there are different microbial community. Okay, so also ecosystem level, the variation or the variety that you see at ecosystem levels are known as ecological diversity. For example, ecological diversity is greater in India due to presence of large number of ecosystems like desert, rainforest, mangroves, coral reef, wetland, estuaries, etc. When we talk about different ecosystems, in India itself, if we count, there are deserts in India, there are rainforests in India, there are mangroves, there are coral reefs, there are wetlands, there are estuaries present in India. So they form different ecosystems in a particular country. So this variety of ecosystem or variety of community found in one particular area is known as ecological diversity. Ecological diversity is with reference to a larger area. Okay, so these are the different types of diversity or biodiversity which are described by Edward Wilson. Genetic diversity, species diversity and ecological diversity. Okay, next let's study in brief the different types of biodiversity found in different parts of the world. Global species diversity, that means the varieties of species that you found in the whole globe is known as global species diversity. According to IUCN, this is a very important question. The abbreviation will be asked. IUCN refers to International Union for Conservation of Nature and Natural Resources. International Union for Conservation of Nature and Natural Resources. Okay, that forms IUCN. According to IUCN, the data was given in the year 2004. There are 1.5 million of plants and animal species present in our biosphere. Okay, according to their data, there are 1.5 millions of plants and animal species together found in our biosphere. Okay, biosphere is the larger level of ecological hierarchy which comes after biomes. So biosphere includes all the plant species, all the animal species present in the whole, it includes all the biomes. Okay, so there are totally 1.5 millions of plants and animal species. Then, estimate one more person known as Robert May. He estimated the global species diversity as 7 millions. Okay, he estimated that the global species diversity could be 7 million, which is far higher than the number given by IUCN. More than 70% of all the species recorded are animals. Okay, out of this 1.5 millions of plants and animals that are recorded, more than 70% are animals. That means there are more animal species when compared to plant species. Plants constitute about 22% of the total. Only 22% of the total is represented by plants. Among animals, insects constitute more than 70%. Okay, out of the total plant and animal species, out of the whole biodiversity, more than 70% is occupied by animals. In animals, more than 70% are insects. Okay, out of every 10 animals, 7 are insects on this particular earth. Okay, on our earth, if you count 10 animal species, then out of these 10, 7 are insects. Okay, India has only 2.4% of the world's land area, and its share of global species diversity is 8.1%. Okay, if you see what is the land area that India has, it is only 2.4% of the world's land area. Okay, so India has only 2.4% of the whole world's land area. However, we contribute a global species diversity of 8.1%. Out of 100% species that are present in the whole world, 8.1% comes from India, even though we have 2.4% of the world's land area. Okay, for when we compare our land area with the species diversity, our species diversity is very high. So India is considered one of the mega diversity countries of the world. Okay, so India is referred as mega diversity, that is the country which has larger number of biodiversity. Okay, India is one of the mega diversity countries of the world. This is all about global species diversity. Then we will talk about something known as pattern of biodiversity, which is going to be a very important question for you. Patterns of biodiversity. Now, if you look into the biodiversity of the whole globe or the whole world, diversity is not same in all the area. The biodiversity of India does not match with the biodiversity of Sri Lanka, or the biodiversity of Sri Lanka does not match with the biodiversity of America. Okay, so the biodiversity of every area or every country differs. Okay, so that is known as pattern of biodiversity. Every country or every area has different types of biodiversity. Biodiversity is not uniform. Uniform means same throughout the world because it is affected by two factors. Why it is not the same? Why the biodiversity that you see in India is not the same as the biodiversity that you see in America or Australia or Sri Lanka. Why? Biodiversity of every country differs. This difference is because of two factors. One is latitudinal gradient. The second one is species area relationship. Okay, latitudinal gradient and species area relationship. In a simple way, what is a latitudinal gradient? The location of your country also matters when we talk about biodiversity. Okay, where we are located, where we are present in the whole globe or in our earth, where in which location our country is present, or where a country is located, in which part of the globe our country is located. That also contributes a lot towards the biodiversity. Okay, our latitudinal gradient means our position in the globe matters a lot when we talk about biodiversity. Species area relationship. Okay, the species diversity also depends on the particular area. Okay, how there is a relationship between the species diversity and the area we will study in detail. Let's talk about latitudinal gradient. Okay, what is latitudinal gradient? If you see here, species diversity increases as we move from pole to equator, that is from high to low altitude. Okay, if you take our globe, okay, let's take our globe. Okay, so this is the equator, right, and the area which is closer to this equator is known as tropic region, or this is the climatic zone. This is one climatic zone known as tropic. The tropic region is always close to this particular equator. Okay, if we consider this as the equator and this part of the equator, okay, both towards the upper side and the lower side, it is known as tropic. This occupies 23.5 degree north and this part represents the 23.5 degree south. Okay, this area is known as tropical region. Okay, this is very close to the equator. Then comes this part of the globe which is represented as temperate region. Okay, this part is known as temperate region, which actually occupies from the equator, if we talk, it occupies almost 66.5 degree towards north and 66.5 degree towards south. Okay, so this region is known as temperate region, and this region very close to the equator is known as tropic region, and this part of the globe is known as polar region. So if we consider this as 90 degree towards south and 90 degrees towards north, the leftover part is occupied by the polar region. Okay, that is 90 minus 66.5 degree is occupied by polar. Here also 90 minus 66.5, because till here it is 66.5. The rest is occupied by the polar region. Towards the south, this is towards the north. Now, if you see here, species diversity increases as we move from pole to the equator, and that is from high to a low altitude. Okay, if you see here, the species diversity, I have told you the species diversity is affected by one of the major region, which is latitudinal gradient. That is, in which part of the globe we are located. Okay, so if we travel from polar region to equator region, there is increase in species diversity. Here also, if you travel from polar region to equator region, the species diversity increases. That means in the equator region, we have more species diversity than in the polar region or in the temperate region. When we say equator region, especially in the tropic region, the species diversity is always more when compared to these temperate regions and polar regions. Okay, both towards the upper pole and the southern pole, northern pole and the southern pole. Here the species diversity is very less. Here the species diversity is little bit higher. Here in this part or in the tropic region, the species diversity is very high. I hope this is clear to you. Okay. Now we'll read it again. Species diversity increases as we move from the polar region to the equator region. That's from high to lower altitude. Now tropic region. So this part of the equator, this part of the globe, which is close to the equator, 23.5 degree north to the 23.5 degree south. This tropic region occupies this part of the globe. Okay, they have more species when compared to the temperate and the polar regions. Okay, when compared to temperate and these polar regions, this tropic region has more biodiversity. Okay, the Amazonian rainforest, you must have heard about Amazon rainforest. This Amazon rainforest is present in the tropical region. Okay, in this particular region, in the tropic region, this Amazon rainforest exists. Okay, so Amazon rainforest, since it exists in the tropic region, it is present in South America. It has the greatest biodiversity on earth. Okay, this question will be asked, which part of the earth has the greatest biodiversity? Your answer should be Amazonian rainforest, which is present in South America, has the greater biodiversity on earth. Okay, so let's look into their biodiversity. They have 40,000 species of plants, 3,000 species of fish, 1,300 species of birds, 427 species of amphibians, 427 species of mammals, 378 species of reptiles, and more than 1,25,000 species of invertebrates. Okay, they have very, very high biodiversity. Okay, so they are, where is it present? It's present in Amazonian rainforest. It comes in the tropical region, obviously, because we know tropical region has the highest biodiversity when compared to temperate and polar. Why this change? Because the temperature is moderate in this particular tropic. When we move from this equator to the polar region, okay, when we move from this region to this region, the temperature decreases. When the temperature decreases, the species diversity also decreases. Here also, when we move from equator to the northern pole, the temperature decreases. So again, the species diversity also decreases. Now, next topic is why tropics has great biodiversity than temperate regions. Okay, next question is why this particular, why this portion of the globe, that is tropic, has more diversity than compared to this temperate region. Okay, the answer is what happens in the temperate regions is, temperate region, they will face a lot of glaciations. Glaciations mean ice formation. Okay, temperate regions have been subjected to frequent glaciations in the past, but tropical regions remain undisturbed for millions of years and thus had a long evolutionary time for species diversification. What happens in the tropic region is that tropic region remains undisturbed. That means there is no disturbance, much disturbance happening in the tropic regions when compared to temperate regions. where temperate regions undergo, it has undergone a lot of glaciations. Okay, that means ice formation or ice deposition in the temperate regions, whereas tropics remain undisturbed, which gave time for the tropic regions to carry out a lot of evolution and have a rich species diversity. That is the one reason this question is very important for 2 marks. Okay. Temperate regions have been subjected to frequent glaciations in the past, but tropical regions remain undisturbed for millions of years and thus had a long evolutionary time for species diversification. The tropical region had a lot of time for diversifying or changing its species diversity. Okay, so that is the reason it has greater biodiversity. Temperate environment, unlike the tropics, are more seasonal, less constant and unpredictable, resulting in lesser species diversity. Okay, we are talking about temperate regions. Temperate regions, okay, that is the region which is, which lies above, the tropic region towards north, and here just below the tropic region. This particular temperate regions, they are more seasonal. More seasonal means it has more seasons in a year. Okay, whereas when we are in tropic regions, we just have a summer, a winter, a monsoon. Okay, so we have very less seasons when compared to temperate regions. Temperate regions has more seasons. That means, it undergoes a lot of variations in the season, in the temperature in a year. Okay, so that actually affects any species growing in that particular area. Okay, they are less constant. They are not the same. In tropic regions, we can predict that this month is going to be summer, these months are going to be monsoon, and these months are going to be winter. Whereas this cannot be, this is not constant in temperate regions. Okay, because they are more seasonal. They are unpredictable. We cannot predict that this is going to be a rainy season, this is going to be a monsoon, a winter, this is going to be summer. We cannot predict any particular season in that particular climatic zones. So that is the reason they have lesser species diversity. Whereas tropics are less seasonal, more constant, and they are predictable. Okay, here your temperate regions are more seasonal, less constant, and unpredictable. Okay, now there is more solar energy available in the tropics, which contribute to higher productivity. Okay, when compared to your temperate and polar region, the center region, which is tropics, which are close to the equator, this particular part of the earth gets more sunlight. Okay, tropics get more sunlight. That is the reason they have more species diversity. Okay, that means they contribute to higher productivity. Productivity we have studied, the total amount of organic matter or the total amount of biomass that a producer is going to produce is known as productivity in a particular area. So since more solar energy available in the tropics, all the plants will be able to carry out more of photosynthesis, so they will be able to produce more organic matter, which is nothing but productivity. Okay, so this is the region. The tropics have more biodiversity than the temperate region. Answer is very clear to you now. Let's move on to the next topic, species area relationship. Okay, what was the topic we are studying? Pattern of biodiversity. Why biodiversity is not same throughout the earth or throughout the globe, why it differs. Okay, now we know the reason why the biodiversity can't be the same throughout the year, because it depends on latitudinal gradient. That means in which part of the globe we are located. If we are located at tropical region, we have more diversity. We are located in temperate, we have lesser, and when we go to polar, we have very less biodiversity. Okay, the location where we are present, if we are in this location of 23.5 degree north and 23.5 degree south, we have more diversity. If we go further from this particular degree in the globe, then the temperature also decreases, so does the species diversity. Okay, next we will study the second factor which affects the biodiversity. Okay, the second factor which affects the biodiversity of an area is species area relationship. Okay, species area relationship is very interesting to know. It was explained by this German naturalist and geographer known as Alexander von Humboldt. Okay, he is the person who actually explained species area relationship. Okay, Alexander von Humboldt, he was the naturalist and geographer. Okay, now what he observed was that you take a particular area, you need to understand species area relationship in a simple way. You take a small area, for example, the area in which you are living. Okay, in that area, if you count the species diversity, how many different types of species are present in a particular area? Okay, you can take into consideration the dog, the cats, pigs, animals, different types of animals, different types of plant species present in your one particular area. Okay, now if you take your whole city in which you are living, okay, now when you compare the species diversity that you found in your particular area, you compare that with your species diversity of your whole city, then the species diversity of the whole city increases. Right? Similar way, you take the species diversity of your state. Okay, the state in which you are living, again the species diversity is going to be, it is going to increase. Alright, the species diversity is going to be more and more. When you go from your local area, the area in which you are living, the species diversity is less. When you go to your whole city, the species diversity is going to be more. When you go to a whole state, species diversity is going to be still more. Okay, because in a state, in your local area, you have only, you just have few houses, okay, and you have roads, and you might be having one or two parks. Okay, so the species diversity is less. When you go to a city, the city has a zoo, it has a lake, it has a river, okay, so it has a forest, it is going to be different. If you take an example of a whole state, then the whole state is going to be having a grassland, a forest, a desert, so the species diversity is going to be more. If you go further, if you take the example of whole country, then there is a limited species, the increase in the species diversity is going to be stable. Now there is no more species diversity increasing because every state has their own species diversity. Okay, every state has a desert, has a grassland, has a forest, has a river, has a, it has a rocky area. So their species diversity is, it is large. But when you go to a larger areas, the species diversity will not increase. It is going to become stable. Because the species diversity of Karnataka matches with the species diversity of Kerala. Okay, the species diversity of Kerala is going to match the species diversity of Rajasthan. Okay, altogether, if we consider, because in Rajasthan also there are colder regions, there are hotter regions, in Karnataka also we have colder regions, hotter regions, moderate regions. Okay, the species diversity is not going to increase more and more, it is going to be constant. Okay, so this is known as species area relationship. Okay, when you go from a smaller area to larger area, the species diversity increases, but to a certain limit. After that you go to a larger area, the species diversity is not going to increase because the diversity that you find in Karnataka is similar to the diversity that you find in Kerala. So we cannot say the species diversity increased, right? However, when you go from your area to city to state, the diversity is becoming more because the species that you don't find in your area will be found in your city, or the species that you will not be finding in your city will be found in your state. Okay, whereas if you compare your biodiversity with the biodiversity of your neighboring state, it is going to be almost same. So the species diversity is not going to increase. The number of organisms might increase, but the species diversity or the type of species is not going to increase. the lions that you find in your state is going to be the same as the lions that you're going to find in your neighboring state. Okay, but that increases the number of lions in the nation, but that does not increase the number of species, because both the lions give. It might be in Karnataka or Rajasthan. It is going to be Panthera leo. There is no other species going to be added. Okay, so let's read the statement now. German naturalist and geographer Alexander von Humboldt observed that within a region, species richness increased with increased explored area, but only up to a limit. Okay, there is a limit for the increase in species diversity. Okay, the relationship between species richness and area for a wide variety of taxa turns out to be a rectangular hyperbola. We are drawing a graph for this particular species area relationship. We are taking area in the x-axis and species richness in the y-axis. Okay, we are plotting a graph in which we are taking area in x-axis and the species richness present in that particular area in the y-axis. That means species diversity. In an area, what is the species diversity, or how many different types of species are present? Okay, if you see the graph here, the blue line, if you go in a wider area or larger area, when the area increases, the species richness also increases. See, when the area increases, the species richness also increases. Okay. However, in one particular place, the species richness is going to be constant even though you increase the area. Okay. See here, almost till here, the species diversity increased when the area also increased. At this particular point, even though the area increases, the species diversity is not going to increase because there is no more species diversity. That's all for the species diversity. Okay. Now, this particular shape is known as rectangular hyperbola. Okay, we interpret this particular rectangular hyperbola with this formula S is equal to Ca to the power Z. Okay, now for the same rectangular hyperbola, if you are using a log scale, if you are interpreting it through log, then it is going to be a straight line. Okay, if we are using log, this whole concept can be interpreted using a straight line. So if we are writing a formula for this particular straight line for rectangular hyperbola, it is going to be S is equal to Ca to the power Z. If we are using a formula, if we are framing a formula for this particular straight line or this particular line, it is going to be log S is equal to log C plus Z log A. Log S is equal to log C plus Z log A. You know to do a logarithm calculation. Now, what is S here? S is species richness. C, let's talk about one by one. S is equal to species richness. A is equal to area. Z is equal to slope of the line. Okay, Z is equal to slope. Z represents slope of the line. C is equal to y-intercept. That is, in which part of the hyperbola the x-axis is intercepting with the y-axis. Okay, C is equal to y-intercept. Yes, Z means slope of the line. So, simple way, if we have to just represent this particular graph, when the area increases, the species richness increases. However, if you go further, the species richness will not increase more. It is going to be constant. See, there is no more increase. It is going to become constant. Okay. Within a region, species richness increased with increasing explored area, but only up to a limit. So, if the relationship between species richness and area turns out to be a rectangular hyperbola, this blue color line. The logarithmic scale, the relationship can be described as log S is equal to log C plus Z log A. S is equal to species richness, A is equal to area, Z is slope of the line, and C means y-intercept. You know what is it. Okay. Now, this Z is also known as regression coefficient. Okay, it has been noted that regardless of the taxonomic group or region, the slope of the regression line are identical. However, for a very larger area, the slope of the regression is much steeper. Okay, what it says is, here we are taking this species diversity for a limited area. However, if you are going to a larger areas, then this line, which is represented as regression coefficient, this can come down this way. Okay, if we are going to a larger and larger area, if we are taking a smaller area, then we can represent the species area relationship in this way. However, if you are going to a larger area, then this line is going to be much steeper. Okay, it is going to be much steeper because again there will be very less species diversity. Okay, very less species diversity if you go to more and more area. Simple way, just think that if you keep on increasing the area, the species diversity is also going to increase. However, if you go to a larger and larger area, the species diversity is not going to be more because there are no species going to be newly added to that particular area. It's going to be the repeated species that you find in your state and the next state. Okay, so if you go to a larger area, the species diversity is going to be constant. So if you go to a larger area, and this line will become much steeper. Okay, so that's what the last three lines say. Okay, now let's see. So these are the two factors that will affect the biodiversity. Okay, the first factor that will affect the biodiversity is latitudinal gradient. That the place where, the location where you are living matters a lot for the biodiversity. Second one is species area relationship. When you go to larger area, the species diversity is going to be constant, or it is going to be the same. It is not going to increase more. Okay, so that's all about species area relationship and latitudinal gradient. Let's move on to the importance of species diversity to the ecosystem. Why species diversity is so important for ecosystem? Why can't it be only human beings in the ecosystem? Okay, why can't it be only human beings? Why do we need other living organisms with us? That is the concept of this particular topic. Importance of species diversity. Why in a forest only lions cannot live? Why in a forest only tigers cannot live, or only deers cannot live, or only bisons cannot live? Why there has to be multiple living organisms, or why there has to be multiple species living in a particular forest? Why in a pond only fish cannot live? Okay, that is the question of this particular topic. Community with more species generally tends to be more stable than those with less species. This was confirmed by David Tillman. Okay, if you go to any ecosystem, there has to be different community living together. There has to be plant community, there has to be animal community, there has to be microbial community. Without this interaction, the ecosystem will not survive long. Okay, plants will grow with the help of the minerals given by decomposers. Plants give food and oxygen to the animals, also to the decomposers. Animals, they depend on this particular plant. When the animals die, the decomposers are going to release the nutrients from the animal's body, give it back to the plant. Okay, when there is interaction between all the communities, then that is going to be a stable community. Okay, when there are more species diversity, that indicates that community or ecosystem is a stable community. Okay, if you have to call forest a forest ecosystem, there has to be less number of tigers, less number of lions, more number of deers, and very much large number of trees. Okay, only when there is no interaction between different species, that will be called a stable ecosystem. When there are more species diversity, that means that ecosystem is stable. Community with more species generally tends to be more stable than those with less species. This was confirmed by a person known as David Tillman. Okay, this person known as David Tillman, he explained that when there are more species in a community, that is going to be a stable community when compared to a community with less species. Now, what are the characteristics of a stable community? A stable community should not show too much of variation in productivity from year to year. Now, let's take a particular community. Okay, community means we consider plant, animal and microbial together, we call it as a community. Now, if you have to call a community a stable community, then what are its features? The first feature that we are talking is that it should not show much variation in its annual productivity. Okay, we have studied what is productivity, the organic matter produced by producers in a community. Now, there should not be there should not be too much of variation or changes in the productivity of that particular community. A stable community should not show too much of variation in productivity from year to year. What is the productivity of this year? There could be a slight difference the next year, but there should be a larger difference in the productivity of a community from year to year. It must be resistant to occasional natural or man-made disturbance. If a community is resistant, if it is not affected by any natural calamities or if it is not affected by any man-made activity, then that community is known as a stable community. It shouldn't be easily vulnerable to all the natural calamities or also man-made activities. It must be resistant to occasional. Occasional means sometimes happening only sometimes or rarely happening. Stable community must be resistant to invasion by alien species. Okay, if you have to call a community a stable community, then it should be resistant to invasion by alien species. Now, there is a community, in a particular area or an ecosystem. If any alien species means species coming from some other ecosystem are known as alien species. Alien species are not the species which are coming from some other planet. Okay, that doesn't represent the alien species. Alien means something which is very new are known as aliens. So here alien species means not the species coming from some other planet. Alien species means species coming from some other ecosystem or from some other community. There is a particular ecosystem, there is a new species coming from another ecosystem to this particular ecosystem. If this ecosystem gets disturbed, then that is not a stable community. Okay, if this community has to be a stable community, it should be resistant to invasion. Invasion means a species just entering without permission. Okay, if a species is entering to this new community, this community should not be damaged. This community should not get disturbed. Then that community is known as a stable community. It could be a plant, animal or a microbial community, doesn't matter. Okay, so these are the characteristics of a stable community. Okay, then we will talk about different hypotheses proposed by Paul Ehrlich and David Tillman conducted a field experiment. We will study about it later. Then we will study about loss of biodiversity, effect of biodiversity loss and few other topics in our next class. With this, I am ending today's class. Okay, in today's class, what are the topics we covered? We studied about what is biodiversity. Okay, the chapter is chapter 15, biodiversity and conservation, coming under unit 10, ecology. So biodiversity, what is biodiversity? What are the different types of biodiversity? What is global species diversity? What are the different patterns of biodiversity? And what are the factors, that actually, actually changes this particular biodiversity in different location. Okay, the reasons, the factors are latitudinal gradients and species area relationship. We have studied all of them together, and we have studied the importance of species diversity and characteristics of a stable community. And the leftover topics, we will deal with it in our next class. If you have any questions, you can get back to me. Thank you.